The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Any health advice given, whether general, diet, physical or spiritual, is general only and must be verified by your doctor. If you need medical advice, please consult a doctor.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Inspire FM. Welcome to all our listeners and viewers. I welcome you all to another exciting and educating edition of the Health and Fitness Show. I'm Fahad Matin, your host for today, and I hope and pray that all of us are fit and healthy by the grace of Almighty Allah. I do pray that we all had a nice and positive week so far, and looking forward for a nice and relaxing weekend. This program is broadcasting live from the studios of Inspire FM today on 13th of February 2020. And casting its positive vibes to all our lovely people in Luton and all the surrounding areas of Luton like Dunstable, Harpenden and Bedford. And our positive airwaves reaching all our listeners who are listening through Inspire FM app or website. You can also view us via Facebook. If you have a Facebook account, all you have to do is just go to Inspire FM Facebook page and click the live link. If you're listening to this show on Sunday or any other Thursday, that means it's a repeat. But hey ho, today is 13th of February 2020. That means it's not a repeat. As we know, we always capture and cover different health-related topics. And today's topic is something on the same line in many different ways. Normally, I start with a positive quote, but I was trying to find a nice positive quote, couldn't find anything, so I have a positive doctor with me. Yes, indeed. The topic for today, without any further ado, is gestational diabetes and preconception. Yes, you have heard me correctly. We are talking about gestational diabetes and preconceptions. Now, I know it's a mouthful, and before I ask anything else, definitely I will introduce my guest who will be talking about this topic. Now, she is clinical lead in local in Bedfordshire Clinical Commissioning Group for long-term conditions, children and women's and gynecological issues, and definitely she's joining us for the very first time. So welcoming Dr Sanhita Chakrabarti. Assalamu alaikum, doctor. Hello, doctor.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, salam. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
So, Doc, tell us about yourself. Introduce you. I've given some wordings, but it's always nice to hear a bit of introduction about yourself.
Thank you, Fahad, and a big good evening to everybody listening today. Thank you for having me on the show today. My name is Sanhita Chakrabarti, and I have been a doctor for many years now. My background is obstetrics and women's health, and also public health. So, and my main interest is to look after women, empower women to stay healthy, particularly before and during pregnancy, and look after them. So, amongst the many things that I do, I work with patients and as well with lots of doctors around me so that we can get the best care for all our mums and women.
Wow, that is so amazing. So normally we start our questions. Normally start our show with a round of questions, and we talked about this topic in past. But then sometimes it's always nice to get an inside view from the specialist like yourself, who know about these topics better than anybody else. So, but before doing that, let me introduce our listeners as well. So, listeners, if you have any questions or queries regarding our topic today, which is gestational diabetes, please give us a call on 01582 481822. I repeat, 01582 481822. You can send text messages or WhatsApp on 07779 481822. I repeat, 07779 481822. Now, Sanhita, I've told about this gestational diabetes quite a few times, and it is a mouthful. But for our listeners who do not know what this is, can you please give us a quick explanation as that what is gestational diabetes?
So yes, it is a mouthful, and gestational diabetes is something that is common to a lot of women. It's because what happens is during your pregnancy, you develop very high blood sugar levels. Now, very high blood sugar levels has complications during the pregnancy for the baby as well as the mother. So, but this is an important area that needs sort of care during pregnancy, and also it's also kind of important to look after the baby as well, and fortunately, with good care, most of our mothers and babies do well. And this is a kind of diabetes that, so when you have high blood sugar levels, when sugar levels in your system are high, then it's considered diabetes. But this kind of diabetes just happens during pregnancy. So fortunately, once the baby is born, many of the mothers go back to their normal blood sugar levels and are fine. So people think, okay, well, that is possibly fine and I don't need to do anything about it anymore. But mothers who develop gestational diabetes or high blood sugar levels in pregnancy are at high risk of developing diabetes in future. So it's important to be looking after yourself after baby is born as well, which is vitally important, and our doctors do that. So it is something to watch when you're when you are expecting a baby, a very positive time. But it's also important to watch. And most of the time, your community midwife or your midwife will be checking you out for all of the investigations and checking your sugar in your urine. And that's when it's diagnosed. We can find out whether you've got high sugar levels in your blood during your pregnancy. So that is gestational diabetes is a mouthful, but basically it's high blood sugar levels that you develop just during your pregnancy.
Okay, so definitely it's not caused to every single one, and so what caused this gestational diabetes to become a normal pregnant mom to become gestational diabetic patient?
There is a lot of complex sort of physiology changes rather that is going on in a mother's body when they're carrying a baby, and certain characteristics of mothers do make them prone to develop diabetes in pregnancy, particularly if you have already had a pregnancy where your blood sugar levels have been high. The chances are you might develop that in your future pregnancies. if mothers are slightly overweight and with body mass index over 30, they could be at high risk. There are certain sort of other sort of associations, like in some families, women tend to develop. So there are some characteristics which makes women prone to diabetes in their pregnancy. So those are the one to watch out for.
So that means if a patient or if a mother who was gestational diabetic in the first pregnancy, that doesn't mean that she can become gestational diabetes in future pregnancies as well.
There is a high probability that they may develop. So it is something that our community midwives are very well equipped to look out for, and they obviously identify these mums very early on and look after them.
Okay, so is there any way we can know? So you're becoming pregnant for the very first time in the community. So in our community, when you're becoming pregnant for the very first time, there's lots and lots of desi totke, means all those desi things which mother-in-laws and those things of family elders normally give it to you, and they say, oh, eat more, eat healthy, and these kind of advices. So is there any signs or symptoms people should watch out that they might become gestational diabetic, especially those new moms, because their bodies is going through under immense change in a very short state of time? So is there any specific signs and symptoms?
Not specifically as such. I mean, it's difficult for moms to know whether they're developing symptoms of high blood sugar, but if you keep up your regular appointments with your community midwife, some of the things that can come up, as I said, your urine may show high levels of sugar, which can be detected, and your community midwife can check that. Sometimes the baby may be sort of slightly bigger, and that might cause community midwives to do a few more tests to identify whether mum's got gestational diabetes. If mothers are unusually tired, if they've developed any sort of recurrent infections anywhere, if they're frequently going to the toilet, or if they're frequently feeling thirsty. Those are the kind of unusual symptoms. Now, in pregnancy, it's a kind of a little bit tricky because some of these symptoms are pretty normal in most mothers. But if these are some of the symptoms that you get to see, then it's worth talking to your community midwife, who can just double check and see that and do some tests to check that you've not developed sort of additional blood sugar levels, high blood sugar levels in pregnancy.
So when, because over here, as we all know in Luton as well, when somebody becomes pregnant, they can book themselves an appointment with the midwife, and the community midwife will come and do almost half an hour long appointment with the pregnant lady, and go through rigorous questions and everything, and they also draw blood sometimes as well for blood test. So do those blood tests automatically comes with an answer if a patient is gestational diabetics?
So we do some routine blood tests, and that would show, but not always. So I think when as you're doing your antenatal care, most of the tests should pick up if there is any associations. But if you develop any other additional symptoms, then our midwives are equipped to do more tests, which might make them sort of aware. And as I said, if there is signs in the pregnancy that would make them to do some additional tests, that they will do them. And you ask about our mothers who are Asian or from sort of the ethnic, or ethnic. Now, our mothers who are from the Asian backgrounds or ethnic backgrounds are more at a high risk sometimes of developing this kind of condition in pregnancy.
So I was about to ask who are the at-risk group to develop diabetes, gestational diabetes. You just mentioned that, but these people, if I ask you to elaborate on that, how come female or women from subcontinent backgrounds are more prone to become gestational diabetes as compared to a normal non ethnic background patients?
I don't. I think in general, it's the way we metabolize our carbohydrates in our system, and there is no specific reason that I know of, but generally people from South Asian and other backgrounds, we have genetic sometimes genetic or familial tendencies to develop high blood glucose levels, and so our mothers are also therefore then prone to have blood glucose levels which are as in blood sugar levels which are higher
than the
than the normal. And this also is for our sort of our Black and Afro-Caribbean mothers as well, who are also quite prone. And sometimes our Asian food habits can contribute to the way we can develop high blood sugars as well.
Indeed. Who don't like the Asian food habits? It's one of the best ones.
So I think it's about sort of understanding whether you're at risk and sort of looking after yourself and being healthy in your pregnancy, and looking out for some of the signs and symptoms early, and definitely talking to your midwife if you're concerned.
Indeed. Let me introduce back our listeners as well. So listeners, if you have any questions or queries regarding our show tonight, please get in touch with us by calling us on 01582 481822. I repeat, 01582 481822. You can take part in this show by sending text message or WhatsApp on 07779 481822. I'd like to hear if you have been gone through gestational diabetes, or if your partner has become gestational diabetic during pregnancy. I'd like to hear your experience, your thoughts, and any other questions if you have, because we have such a nice resource in the room with us, a doctor with us who can give a guidance on gestational diabetes itself. So if you have any questions or queries, please do give us a call or send a text message on 07779 481822. So, Sanhita, tell me something. In terms of diabetes and gestational diabetes, now, how different gestational diabetes is from normal diabetic patients?
So, if you are somebody who already have diagnosed diabetes, so you could either have there's two kinds of diabetes. So you either could have a type 1 diabetes, which you probably would have had for a long time because it comes on very early in life, or you could be develop diabetes later in life, which is called a type 2 diabetes. Now, if you're already a known person, a known lady with diabetes, and you want to be pregnant, it's best to talk to your GP and talk to your consultant who's looking after your diabetes to get adequate advice before you become pregnant, so that your blood sugar levels are in that normal, in kind of sort of in the range, which is a more healthy range. What happens in gestational diabetes is you are a perfectly healthy person, so you're not a diabetic. You're not known to have any diabetes, and what you develop is very high blood glucose levels because of sort of abnormal blood changes that are happening inside you, which causes your metabolism to fail and very high blood sugar levels coming on in your blood. So the difference is in mothers who develop gestational diabetes, you don't have any existing diabetes before. You develop it just during the pregnancy when you're carrying the pregnancy. It usually comes in sort of after 13, 14, so after 18, 20 weeks, when you start to, either you may present with symptoms or you start to show some symptoms like, there's sugar in your urine and stuff.
So it will quite likely to be the person who become gestational diabetic can become diabetic later in the life.
There is a lot of suggestions and lot of evidence that a significant number of mothers, after they've had their baby, and if they've had high blood sugar levels in their pregnancy, can go on to develop type 2 diabetes for their life, and they may need looking after. So it is important to identify mothers when they've developed gestational diabetes, which is blood sugar levels.
So patients who are now pregnant and become gestational diabetics, is there anything else they can do to minimize the risk?
Yes, I would say listen to your, ideally, if you are already a mother who has been identified to have gestational diabetes, then I would say listen to your diabetes in pregnancy midwife, who I think you should be seeing regularly, who would be monitoring not only yourself, your blood sugar levels, advising you on diet, and regularly checking your blood sugar levels. And also checking your baby to see that there is not a lot of sort of, your baby is developing health in a healthy way. So I would say talk to your diabetes in pregnancy midwife, listen to exactly what you say, what they say, moderate what you eat, definitely check that you're not eating a lot of sugar-laden things. If you've not already, then download the Public Health England Sugar app. So if you're all got smartphones, go onto your app store and download the Sugar app. You could scan everything that you eat, and it'll tell you whether whether you're eating the adequate sugar or you're eating too much.
If we eating dal chawal, how can we scan dal chawal?
Well, you can. Every product has got a barcode, so you can actually scan the barcode to see before you make your dal chawal, your packet would have a barcode that you could scan, and it'll tell you before you actually cook it. So then basically you know how much you've cooked. And of course, if there is any associated problems in pregnancy that you start to identify. Like as I said, if you feel you're tired, you're thirsty, you're otherwise feeling not very well, if you're getting a lot of infections and things, ideally your diabetes in pregnancy, midwife should be looking after you. But if there is any anything in between the times that you see your midwife, you should bring it to the attention of your doctors.
Indeed. And I must say that is a very difficult time for women who are normally going through gestational diabetic in that time, and it's not that easy. Unfortunately, we are about to go on our commercial break. When we come back, we will definitely want to know the risk for the baby itself and what health advices they should carry on, and in terms of food as well, what lifestyle they need to follow through. When we talk about food, we talk about lifestyle hand in hand in many different ways. So yeah, and definitely I need to engage our listeners as well, that what listeners want to say if they have gone through, because there are many mothers who are listening us. So yes, if listeners, if you have gone through gestational diabetic period, then I do definitely want to hear from you. But all this after a very short message. Stay tuned.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Any health advice given, whether general, diet, physical, or spiritual, is general only and must be verified by your doctor. If you need medical advice, please consult a doctor.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening to all our listeners and viewers. Welcome back to Health and Fitness Show. I am Fahad Matin, your host for this evening, and we are talking about gestational diabetes with our pristine guest, Dr. Sanhita Chakrabarti. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening.
This program is broadcasting live from the studios of Inspire FM on today, 13th of February 2020, and casting its positive vibes to all our lovely people in Luton and all surrounding areas of Luton, like Dunstable, Harpenden and Bedford, and reaching on the corners of different parts of area. If you're listening us, you can. It's all also reaching through our Inspire FM app and website. And if you are viewing us via Facebook page, you can. If you want to view us via Facebook link, all you have to do is just go to our Inspire FM Facebook page and click the live link. Oh, ouch. I think so. Somebody just pointed out the spelling mistake of Sanhita Chakrabarti. Sorry, Doc. I think so. One of our admins have put a wrong spelling of your name on our Facebook page. Sorry. Apologies about that.
That's okay.
So before we went on break, we were talking about so many things. We have talked about what is gestational diabetes, how can a normal patient become gestational diabetic, and the signs and symptoms and other factors as well. And then when we are about to finish our show, we will do a quick round of catch up. And definitely we talked about who are prone to become gestational diabetes and so forth. So definitely those round of catch up will be done in a sense. But then we definitely want to hear more from Dr. Sanhita Chakrabarti, but also we want to hear from our listeners as well. What do they think about gestational diabetes? If you have been diagnosed in past from gestational diabetes in any way, shape or form, please get in touch with us. So if you want to call us, just dial 01582 or you can send text messages or WhatsApp with your views on 07779 481822. I repeat, 07779 481822. And Sanhita, I must say, wow, I have received so many text messages and WhatsApp messages right in front of me. I was thinking, how can I settle all of them? So shall I go through some of those questions which have been asked by our guests, if you don't mind?
Yes, not a problem
from
at
our
all.
listeners. So
Yeah.
one of the questions, very first question is that is it necessary to have diabetes in other pregnancy, in second pregnancy, if you're not diagnosed in the very first one?
Yes, that could happen as well, because when as you grow older, and if you're an older mom, the risk of blood sugar abnormalities in your pregnancy can appear. So you may be perfectly healthy in your first pregnancy, but you could develop diabetes or high blood glucose or blood sugar levels in your second pregnancy. And there are some risk factors, as I said, if you're particularly from the Black ethnic minorities or South Asian families. Sometimes this runs in families, and you probably might know from your mom, your sister, or your aunt, or anybody, they may have developed diabetes in pregnancy that makes you one prone. So if you're one of those ladies who have got other additional risk factors, and if you've had healthy pregnancies, there is possibility that you could develop it in your second pregnancy.
One of the other questions just popped on the screen says, Islam, is the percentage in women with gestational diabetes increasing? If yes, then why?
Yeah, so I think what we get to see is a lot of our mothers are now coming in with pregnancy-related diabetes, which is developing only in the pregnancy. I was looking at some statistics earlier today, and of 20 pregnancies, you'd have one pregnancy that is which has got diabetes just developing in pregnancy, and that is quite a high figure. Now, why is it? I think it's because our mothers. What we generally know is our general lifestyle at the minute doesn't lend us to maintain our weight. And so we are possibly coming into becoming expectant mothers, and our body weight is probably not in the optimum range. So if you've got high body weight, that is a high risk. What we know is high risk or mothers who are overweight will have, and if they've not, if they're becoming pregnant, there is a risk of it. Also, our mothers are now, our women are very empowered, and they're working, they're studying, they're doing lots of other things, and we are leaving building our families to a later age. So we are seeing more and more mothers waiting to sort of settle in life and wait till latter in age to become pregnant. And one of the risk factors for mothers developing diabetes in pregnancies when they're slightly older. So those are some of the factors that we are seeing, which lends itself to see that we are having increased numbers of mothers with gestational diabetes.
Wow. Okay. In terms, sorry, my screens are literally full with all the questions it's pouring in, which is really nice. Thank you, listeners. It seems like people are listening our show. Hang on a second. What's the other? Yes. Yes, it says, if you have gestational diabetes, how often you should get checked after the pregnancy?
So, ideally, as I said, your diabetes in pregnancy midwife should organize for you to have regular blood tests and your height and weight, and checking your well-being 6 to 8 weeks after your baby is born. After that, it is how often you get checked. Ideally, your GP should be checking you every year, and you should be having blood tests to check that your blood sugar levels are within the normal range. Because if your blood sugar levels start to climb up, then you could be developing diabetes. So it is important to keep that review. Another good way of doing it is remembering that if you could remind your GP to check you when you're going in for your baby's immunization. So at 13 weeks post delivery.
So that's the first immunization after, which is 1 year immunization of the children.
No, so 13 weeks, yes. So
sorry, 13 weeks, my mistake. It's
yes. the one before.
The first set of vaccines.
Vaccinations, yeah. And so it'll be good to check with your GP and have your blood test then, and having another one at 13 months. So that is again close to the 1 year vaccinations. So that way you can be reminded to do blood tests and check with your GP and see that your blood sugar levels are normal. That's one reminder, because you're going into your GP surgery, so it'll be good to talk to your GP. And then following on from there, what is advised is every year you have a checkup with your GP to check that your blood sugar levels are not climbing and you're not becoming diabetic. And alongside with that, it's very important to make sure that you're healthy. And keep your, healthy eating high up. You're mentally well, keeping your moods high, because it's quite often we see mothers struggling sometimes with keeping a good mental health after babies are born, and also healthy eating and keeping a good regime of exercise.
Wow. Okay. So. Hang on a second. There's another question which I just saw. There are so many questions in front of me. I'm just literally thinking of which one I have asked or not. One of the questions says, can gestational diabetes be inherited?
So it runs in families, as I said before. So if there is history of mothers or women having diabetes in their pregnancy in families, then there is slightly increased risk that you may develop diabetes in pregnancy.
And are there any risk for the baby developing? Baby in development to have diabetes on any stage of its life if the mother has gestational diabetes?
There is some evidence, and there is a risk of mothers who have high blood glucose levels in pregnancy, that their children could develop diabetes in future. So it's very important that we make sure that we don't develop it in the first place.
Sorry, I have literally just screens up full in, so I'm just asking you all the rapid fire questions in front of me. One of the other questions which comes in says, what is the highest factor of gestational diabetes? If blood sugar levels are still higher in range with medication and the insulin, then what is the next treatment?
I would really not want to give any advice over the radio, because I think it's important for situations like that to consult your doctor, because I wouldn't be able to know the other factors that's happening in your pregnancy. So it's important that in that kind of situation, if you're concerned or worried, then to consult your doctor who's looking after you.
Indeed, and definitely if something like this is, if you have concern, your midwife can give you an answer, but at the same time, they will be doctors available and then hospital appointments, because if you have developed gestational diabetes, you definitely have regular consultant appointments as well in your hospital. Another question, if the patient of gestational diabetes babies are higher risk to have diabetes after delivery?
I think we just answered that question.
No, I mean the babies who delivered, do they have a high risk of becoming diabetic? The babies.
Yeah, when they grow up. Yeah, so so this is known that if you have been in a pregnancy where there has been diabetes, then there is risk of the baby in later life when they're growing up could develop. Yeah.
Okay. Another one, Islam. Does only obese lady have to check to develop gestational diabetes?
Not all obese ladies may develop, but obesity is a high risk factor. So yes, if you think you are obese, then it is important to be aware that this is something that could happen in your pregnancy. And if there's any concern, it's best to develop, sort of work with your community midwife and ask those questions and see if there's any reason to check you for developing diabetes in pregnancy.
Okay, another question just popped on my screen, says, hi, my question is, if pregnant women have diabetes, does her child get well as well?
I think it was the same question that we asked.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's a high risk of those children who may develop diabetes later in their life, but there's a health advices. You were mentioning about the lifestyle choices as well.
Yeah.
Now, I do remember, and this is something while working alongside with you and Dr. Chakrabarti, who always comes and say one thing, which is park in the run.
Park run.
Park run, yes. And I have been to a few park runs myself, and I remember one of the park runs recently I've been to. It was a really dull day. It happens on every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. People normally gather at 7:30 over there. So it was a very dull day, and it's a rainy day. I've unfortunately picked up one of the worst weather day ever to have my first park run, and in that one I have seen so many mothers in hijab with the prams and having a park run, and some of them are just walking, some of them are running, and some of them are just having a fast-paced walk. I have never seen so many people. It was like more than 100 people in that time space, and I've been told so many times by Dr. Chakrabarti that look, come, and I've never been to it. But when I went there first time. But you also go to park runs as well in Milton Keynes, I presume.
Yes, I think park run is a good way of exercising. So I know whenever we mention exercise, none of us like it. It is probably unless it's something that is really something that you really enjoy. However, park run is in the fresh air. You could go to parkrun.com, which is the website. You can type in your postcode, and there'll be a park run within 5 miles. And I'm sure you can tell everybody where the Luton Park Run is, and I wouldn't know.
It's in Warden Park.
Okay, there you go. So Warden Park, and
there are 5 places in Bedfordshire, and then there is other places as well. But all you have to do is just go to the website of Parkrun website,
and then if you just type in your postcode, it'll tell you there's usually a park run within 5-10 kilometers from where you live. So the park run is a good way of developing physical activity, and particularly for our mothers. Now, you might think physical activity is not good in pregnancy, and I don't think that's the right advice. You could do gentle walking, you could do gentle swimming, and park run is a good way. You don't have to run, although it says park run, you don't have to run. There'll be lots of other people running. You could quite well walk. It's usually 5 kilometers, but again, if you think you can't walk the whole 5 kilometers and you've done half of it and you feel you don't want to continue the rest, you can stop at any time. There is no compulsion. It's free of charge. That's very important to know, and you get a barcode, so you can actually monitor how many you've done and how what progress you've made, and you go, you make friends. I have lots of mothers who go, and particularly after, I think lots of queries about will my child become diabetic. It's very important when our babies are born and as they're growing up, we develop a healthy physical activity routine into their lives. And doing it on Saturday as a family is a great way of meeting other families, meeting other friends, being in the fresh air. Be it a dull day, you can always cover up. And what else would you be doing on a Saturday morning?
Indeed.
Probably lying in bed and watching your phone. So it's best to get out, get in the fresh air, meet more people, and it helps to not only keep you physically active, but also keeps you mentally healthy because you meet a lot of other people.
You just literally kind of touched the line which I just about to ask, because there's another question pop on my screen says, how can mum improve their mental health during and after pregnancy?
Yeah. It is very, very important that mothers look after their mental health, particularly during and after pregnancy. And the thing to do is to be with your friends and family. Watch out for signs that are making you feel that you're probably a little bit overwhelmed. And if you feel you're overwhelmed, then need to consult your community midwife, because there is a lot of support service out there, and you can access that. Keeping physically healthy, so physically active, eating healthy is another good thing. Socializing, so there is, if you're particularly pregnant, there is a lot of mums groups that you can go to and talk to each other, share ideas, and that kind of social bonding always helps. So those are the other things, and after the baby's born, it's very, very important. It's very, very important to keep healthy as well. And in that, you have to also make sure that your other children and your children are also sort of keeping a good, positive mental health by being physically active, staying healthy, staying with family, and whenever there are symptoms coming up, just identifying that you need help, and don't wait till you're feeling very, very low. If you're feeling out of the odds, get help, talk to your GP. Mind, there is a website called Mind, which is really good, and you can get a lot of support from that.
Okay. Somebody just sent a post on Facebook saying that there are some Lutonian community groups as well to improve health and well-being, which meets 3 times a week around Warden Park, and they walk, run, swimming, and cycle. All welcome. If you want to take part, just go to the Luton Park Run website and select the next event. The next event is on 29th of March at Lee Valley Marathon. Okay, sorry. There's a whole detailed post given on Facebook comment post area, and I must say, wow, the time has passed really, really quickly. We are almost approaching our end of the show. So as I have said earlier, before end, we definitely like you to give a quick round of catch up in terms of what are the positive messages and what we have discussed today. So Sanhita, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Fahad. It's been really inspiring. You're from Inspire FM, so I'm positively inspired. Hope we've been able to get some positive messages out to our mothers and our young women who are trying to get pregnant. So what we've identified is pregnancy-related diabetes. So some gestational diabetes, big mouthful of word, but basically this is a diabetes or high blood glucose levels that can develop just during your pregnancy. And if you're in one of these risk factors, so if you think your weight is over what it should be now, if you are from the BME, South Asian community, community or from the Afro-Caribbean community. If you are a slightly older mother, then, or if you've had diabetes in pregnancy, in your previous pregnancy, then it's very, very important to watch out for some of the signs and symptoms, and alert your midwife very early on in your pregnancy. Some of the symptoms to watch out for is if you're going to the toilet a lot, if you're thirsty, if you're feeling generally unwell, if you're getting lots of infections, then those are the signs during your pregnancy that could alert you to the fact that you may be developing high blood sugars. Your community midwife, your diabetes in pregnancy midwife are your friend. Talk to your GP, get advice, get early identification. It's very, very important to keep healthy. That is maintaining a good body weight, maintaining physical activity during pregnancy, and maintaining a good mental health as well during your pregnancy. So as I said, some of the ideas we talked about is checking out Parkrun or other community-related forums where you could catch up. Healthy eating is important. There is a lot of websites with that information. www.nhs.uk. You can get a lot of information there. As I said, download the Sugar app. You can practically you could look at any food that you're eating or cooking today, and it'll tell you how much sugar it has, and it also tells you whether the sugar is above. The other app to download is Couch to 5K, and again, these are all free apps. It gives you lots of ideas of how to maintain healthy eating and healthy weight. Look after your babies once they're born. After the baby is born, look after yourselves, talk to your GP, and get advice, and keep yourselves to have blood sugar levels checked every year, and that's the way to look after yourself.
Thank you so much, Sanhita, for coming to our show, and this is your very first time, and inshallah we will see you again on the show, and thank you so much.
Okay.
So this is all for our show tonight. Thank you, Sanhita. This is all for our show tonight. If you have missed any part of the show, please, the repeat will be done on Sunday at 9 p.m. So please do listen to it, or you can catch us up on Facebook Live, Facebook feed. So all you have to do is just go to Inspire FM Facebook post and click over there. Otherwise, we are also available on podcast, so you can hear or see us on the podcast as well. And thank you for all the listeners who have joined us. Till next week, I'm your host Fahad Matin saying Assalamu Alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We stream our daily broadcast on inspirefm.org. You'll find all our daily updates on our social media at Inspire FM Luton.